The birth of a legend. Magic Johnson's childhood. Imagine a child who was born to shine. Before he became the legendary Magic Johnson, he was just Irvin Johnson Jr., a boy who ran around the streets of Lansing, Michigan, unaware that one day he would become one of the biggest basketball stars in the world. Irvin was born on August 14, 1959, into a simple family, but one full of love and strong values. His father, Irvin Sr., was a tireless worker. He spent his days operating machines at a General Motors auto plant and in his spare time, worked odd jobs to make sure the family had everything they needed. His mother, Christine, was a janitor at a school and always taught her children the importance of education and respect for others. The Johnson home was not large or luxurious, but it was overflowing with love and discipline. Irvin Jr. was one of 9 children. That's right, 9. So, you can imagine what the routine of that house was like. Noisy, full of games, fights for food on the table, and, of course, lots of basketball. Irvin showed a special brilliance since he was little. It wasn't just because of his talent with the ball, but because he always had a smile on his face and a spirit of leadership that made everyone around him feel part of something bigger. But if there's one thing that shaped his personality, it was the example set by his parents. His father always said, "If you want something in life, you have to work hard to get it." And that's exactly what he did. But before we continue, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, activate the bell so you don't miss any updates. Like and share with your friends. Take the opportunity to leave a comment below and tell me what you thought. First contact with basketball. Irvin's passion for basketball started early. He would wake up before sunrise just to practice his dribbling and shooting on the neighborhood court. Rain, cold or heat, it didn't matter. He was there always training. But he didn't play alone. He loved to challenge his older brothers and even the neighbors down the street. Every time he got the ball, something magical happened. He wasn't the tallest or the strongest, but he had a different skill. He saw the game like no one else. He made passes that no one expected, moved like he was dancing, and could turn any game into a spectacle. And here's a question for you. Have you ever felt that moment when you realize you were born to do something? Well, that's exactly how Irvin felt when he held a basketball for the first time. But his journey was just beginning. So, do you want to know how he became Magic Johnson? Then stay with me because this story only gets better. The first step towards greatness. The beginning of a basketball legend. If there's one thing Irvin Johnson Jr. knew from an early age, it was that he wanted to play basketball. But he didn't just want to play. He wanted to be the best. There was no shortage of challenges in the neighborhood. Lansing was a small town but full of young people who loved the sport. The city's cement courts were the real battlefield. And Irvin? He was always there with the ball in his hands, ready to play against anyone who dared to challenge him. His first big test came when he started playing in high school. He was still a skinny kid without much physical strength, but he had something that few players had: an impressive vision of the game. His passes were so fast and precise that even the coaches were surprised. He could see plays before they even happened. It was as if time slowed down for him on the court. While the other players tried to keep up with the game, he was already one step ahead. But nothing in life comes easy. The challenges started early. Many of the boys he played with were stronger, taller, and even more experienced. But Irvin was never intimidated. On the contrary, he used this as motivation. If someone made a good shot, he would practice until he could do better. If someone dribbled fast, he would stay on the court until dusk practicing his own dribbles. If someone said he wasn't good enough, well, that's when he would practice even harder. And it was during this time that he learned one of the most valuable lessons in life. Talent can take you far, but hard work is what makes the difference. And he worked hard. Very hard. Every day before sunrise, Irvin would already have a ball in his hand, practicing shooting, dribbling, and passing. When school ended, he would go straight to the court again. While the other boys rested, he kept playing. His parents saw his effort and knew something special was happening. But no one could have imagined what was coming. So tell me, have you ever felt that butterflies in your stomach before something big happens? Well, Irvin was about to experience a moment that would change his life forever. After all, it's not every day that someone gets the nickname Magic. The birth of Magic. The day that changed everything. If I told you that a single game can change someone's life, would you believe me? Well, that's exactly what happened to Irvin Johnson Jr. That day, he wasn't an NBA star nor a college champion. He was still just a kid playing for the Everett High School team, trying to prove he was different. But something about that game made the world stop and pay attention to him. It was an important match. The stands were packed, the players' parents were there, the students were screaming, and the pressure was enormous. Everyone expected a tough, evenly matched game fought point by point. But Irvin? He had other plans. That night he didn't just play well. He played like he was on another level. 36 points. 16 rebounds. 16 assists. The fans were amazed. The opponents simply couldn't believe what they were seeing. He made passes that seemed magical, finding his teammates in places no one expected. He grabbed rebounds as if he knew exactly where the ball was going to fall. And when he had a chance to shoot, the ball seemed to glide smoothly through the air before falling into the basket. It was then that a local reporter named Fred Stabley Jr., watching all of this, said something that would change the history of basketball forever. "This kid is not normal. He's magic." And there, in front of everyone, he gave Irvin Johnson Jr. a new name, Magic Johnson. From that moment on, he was no longer just a promising youngster. He was Magic, the player who made impossible things look easy. And Magic loved the nickname. Who wouldn't? But his mother, Christine, wasn't too happy. "Only God can do magic," she would say. But there was no way around it. The world had already decided. Irvin Johnson Jr. would never be just Irvin again. That night not only changed his life, but it also showed the world that he was special. After all, how many high school players get a nickname like that before they even make it to the pros? And here's a question for you. If you were given a nickname that defined who you are, what would it be? Magic Johnson had just been born. But he still had a lot to prove. Now just imagine. What happens when a kid named Magic decides to conquer the basketball world? King of the school. Magic takes over high school. Now that the world knew who Magic Johnson was, he had a mission. To prove that that nickname wasn't just a pretty name. And that's exactly what he did. Standing at 6 feet 3 inches tall and with a style of play unlike anyone else had ever seen, Magic wasn't just a point guard. He was a maestro on the court. He made plays that left his teammates speechless. No-look passes, disconcerting dribbles, feints that made opponents look like statues. And all of this without losing his lightness, joy, and passion for the game. If there was one word to describe Magic Johnson at that time, it was fun. But he didn't just play to impress. He played to win. And winning was something he did very well. Under his leadership, Everett High School became an unbeatable team. Before Magic arrived, the school had never won a state title. But with him, everything changed. In the 1976-77 season, he led his team to the state championship game. It was the most important game in the school's history. The crowd went crazy, and the entire city of Lansing seemed to have stopped to watch the boy everyone called Magic. The game was exciting, close to the wire. But when the ball was in Magic's hands, the impossible became possible. He did everything. Unbelievable passes, decisive shots, rebounds that secured important possessions. And in the end, victory came. Everett High School became state champions, and Magic Johnson established himself as one of the best young players in the country. He finished his high school career with an absurd average of 28.8 points and 16.8 rebounds per game. Before he was just a prospect, now he was a reality. But Magic knew that this was just the first step of the journey. The world of basketball was much bigger than school, and he wanted to conquer it all. Now the big question was, what would be the next step? Big universities started knocking on his door. He had the whole world at his disposal. But where would Magic go? Well, the choice he made changed his life forever. The big choice: on the road to college. Now that Magic Johnson was a true high school basketball phenomenon, he had before him the biggest decision of his life up to that point: where to play in college. And this was no ordinary choice. After all, every major university in the United States was after him. Scouts from powerful teams were knocking on his door, promising everything a young player could want. A basketball dynasty? Yes. Popularity? Yes. A chance to go straight to the NBA? Without a doubt. But deep down, Magic wasn't worried about any of that. What he really wanted was to stay close to home. He didn't want to leave Michigan. He wanted his family and friends to be able to see him play. He wanted to represent his city and show that a kid from Lansing could shine on the national stage. So two options were on the table. University of Michigan, one of the most traditional in the country with a very strong team and a big name in the world of sports. Michigan State, a less famous team, which was still trying to establish itself as a powerhouse in college basketball. Most people thought Magic would go to Michigan. After all, it was the obvious choice for a young star. But Magic was never one to follow the obvious path. He wanted challenges, he wanted to make history, he wanted to take a team to a place it had never been before. And that's why he surprised everyone and chose Michigan State University. And that was a decision that would change the history of college basketball forever. With Magic on the roster, Michigan State went from being an ordinary team to a college basketball powerhouse. He arrived full of energy, ready to transform the game with his incredible vision, his brilliant passes, and his natural leadership. But he knew he still had a lot to prove. College basketball was no joke. There he would face the best young players in the country. And he would have to fight to become the best among them. What Magic didn't know was that, on this journey, he would meet a rival who would change his life forever. And I ask you, have you ever had a rival who made you improve every day? Well, Magic was about to meet his. The rivalry that would change basketball. Magic versus Larry Bird. Have you ever had a rival who made you want to be better every day? The kind of opponent who doesn't let you relax, who challenges you all the time. Well, Magic Johnson met his name, Larry Bird. Even before they faced each other on the NBA courts, before they became two of the greatest basketball legends, Magic and Bird were already destined for an epic duel. But let's go back in time a little. While Magic was shining at Michigan State University, Larry Bird was doing the same at Indiana State University. But there was one big difference between them. Magic was pure charisma, joy, always smiling and enchanting with his magical game. Bird was serious, cold, calculating, the kind of guy who spoke little but let his game do the talking. They were opposites in almost every way, but they had something in common. They were the best players in college basketball. And fate brought them face to face in the 1979 NCAA championship. The game was much more than a college final. It was a spectacle, the largest audience for a college basketball game in the history of the United States. The entire country stopped to watch that duel. On one side, Larry Bird carrying Indiana State on his back. On the other, Magic Johnson, leading Michigan State with his brilliant style of play. It was an incredible confrontation, full of tension, with each play seeming like a chapter from an epic book. But Magic knew that this was his moment. He was ready to shine. He dominated the game, commanded the action, and in the end, Michigan State defeated Indiana State, winning the NCAA title. Magic Johnson was a college champion. Was the rivalry with Bird over? No way. In fact, it was just beginning. After this game, the two were ready to take the next step, the NBA. The world didn't know it yet, but Magic and Bird were about to revolutionize basketball forever. And here's a question for you. Have you ever had someone who made you give your best, even if they were your biggest rival? Well, Magic and Bird became that kind of rival for each other. But wait, what happened when they both arrived in the NBA? The arrival in the NBA. The beginning of the Showtime era. Have you ever dreamed of reaching the top? Of being on the biggest stage, competing against the best in the world? Well, Magic Johnson was about to live that moment. After winning the college title and defeating Larry Bird, Magic entered the 1979 NBA draft. And if there was one thing everyone knew, it was that he would be chosen among the first. And it turned out that way. With the first pick in the draft, the Los Angeles Lakers bet everything on him. Magic Johnson was officially an NBA player. But wait, this story gets even more interesting. Magic was going to one of the most legendary teams in the NBA. The Lakers already had a rich history, and even better, they already had one of the greatest players in the league. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. If you don't know Kareem, here's a summary. He was a living legend. He had already won titles. He had the sky hook, one of the most unstoppable shots in basketball. Magic, a young rookie of just 20 years old, would now have to play alongside one of the biggest names in the sport. And here's the question. Was he ready for this challenge? The answer came quickly. From the first game, Magic proved that he was no ordinary rookie. He played with joy, made passes that no one expected, and most importantly, brought a new energy to the Lakers. That's when the style known as Showtime was born. The Lakers didn't just play basketball. They put on a show. At every game, Los Angeles fans filled the arena to see Magic and company put on a real show. It was speed, precision, unbelievable passes, and basketball that seemed like pure art. And if there's one thing basketball fans love, it's a team that plays beautifully and wins. And that's exactly what Magic and the Lakers did. But Magic didn't just want to be good. He wanted to be a champion in his first season. The rookie who dominated the NBA. Magic Johnson's first title. Now tell me, have you ever imagined a rookie joining a team full of stars and right away taking center stage? Well, that's exactly what Magic Johnson did. The 1979-80 season started with a lot of expectations for the Lakers. With Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the team's leader and Magic arriving as the young prodigy, fans expected big things. And the Lakers did not disappoint. With Magic dictating the pace of the game and bringing that fast, engaging Showtime style, Los Angeles finished the season as one of the best teams in the league. But then came the big test, the playoffs. The pressure was on. Experienced players like to say that the regular season is one thing, but the playoffs are a whole different ballgame. This is where champions are forged. But Magic? He seemed ready for it from day one. The Lakers advanced round after round until they reached the NBA Finals, where they would face the strong Philadelphia 76ers team, led by the legendary Julius Erving, Dr. J. The series was electrifying. But then something happened that could change everything. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the team's leader, was injured in Game 5. The Lakers were winning the series 3-2, but now they had a huge problem. Their best player was out. What now? Who would take responsibility? That's when Magic showed the world why he was different. Before Game 6, while the team was worried about Kareem's absence, Magic did something unthinkable. He looked at the veterans and said, "Don't worry. I'll fix this." And he did. In Game 6, Magic Johnson, a 20-year-old rookie, stepped onto the court to play center in Kareem's place. That's right. He wasn't a center, but he played like one. He did everything. He set up plays. He dunked. He grabbed rebounds. He scored points in decisive moments. And the result? Magic Johnson finished the game with 42 points, 15 rebounds and 7 assists. The Lakers won the game. And Magic Johnson, in his first season, became an NBA champion. Not only that, he was named Finals MVP, becoming the first rookie in NBA history to win this award. That would be incredible for any veteran player. But Magic did it at just 20 years old. And right there in that moment the world realized, this guy is not just good. This guy is special. But as you may have noticed, Magic was never content with little. He didn't want to be just a champion. He wanted to build a dynasty. And to do that he would need to face his greatest rival. And I ask you, have you ever faced a rival who seemed to always be in your way? Well, Magic was about to meet Larry Bird again. And what happened next? Well, this is one of the greatest stories in the NBA. So hold on tight because the rivalry was just beginning. The duel that defined an era. Magic Johnson versus Larry Bird in the NBA. Now tell me, have you ever had a rival who seemed to always be in your way no matter where you went? Well, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird were destined to face each other forever. After the 1979 college championship game, where Magic and Michigan State beat Larry Bird and Indiana State, the two went their separate ways but never really parted ways. Magic went to the Lakers, taking on the role of star on the biggest stage in basketball, playing in Los Angeles, the city of glamour and spectacle. Bird went to the Boston Celtics, a traditional working-class team known for its grit and passionate fans. If this were a movie script, it couldn't have a better story. On one side, Magic and the Showtime Lakers with their beautiful basketball, incredible passes and speed. On the other, Bird and the Celtics with a tough, physical and relentless game. Two different styles. Two rival cities. Two players who hated each other on the court. And of course, fate didn't take long to put them face to face again. The first final between the Lakers and Celtics, 1984. The bitter taste of defeat. After a few years of dominating the NBA, Magic Johnson finally met his old rival again in an NBA final. The stage. The 1984 Finals. Lakers vs. Celtics. The whole world wanted to see this matchup. It was Magic's moment to prove he was the best, and he was determined to avenge the college loss of 1979. But what happened? This time it was Larry Bird who came out on top. The Celtics beat the Lakers in an incredible hard-fought series. Bird was named Finals MVP, and Magic had to swallow that painful loss. And for a competitor like him, that was unacceptable. The great revenge. Magic finally defeats Larry Bird. Now tell me, have you ever lost to someone and been left with that bitter taste of revenge? Well, Magic Johnson knew exactly what that feeling was like. After losing the 1984 NBA Finals to Larry Bird and the Celtics, Magic couldn't get that loss out of his head. He knew he had played well. He knew he had given it his all. But it wasn't enough. And for a competitor like Magic, that hurt more than anything. So he did what he always did when things didn't go his way. He trained harder. He studied the game. He prepared himself to come back stronger. And 2 years later, fate gave Magic the chance he had been waiting for. 1985 NBA Finals. Lakers vs. Celtics. The rematch. It was the same stage, the same teams, the same protagonists. Magic knew he couldn't let this opportunity slip away. And this time he played like never before. He led the Lakers team masterfully, made his magical passes, distributed assists, and this time didn't let the victory slip away. The Lakers beat the Celtics. Magic Johnson finally defeated Larry Bird in an NBA Finals. And believe me, this victory had historic weight. Up until that moment, the Boston Celtics had never lost an NBA Finals to the Los Angeles Lakers. Never. But Magic changed that story. And that wasn't all. Over time, he and Bird realized something surprising. They respected each other more than anyone else. The initial hatred on the court turned into a healthy rivalry. And more than that, it turned into friendship. Two players who became legends, each with their own style, each with their own story, but who together took the NBA to a level never seen before. So, what would you do after defeating your greatest rival? Well, Magic still wasn't satisfied. Now that he had gotten revenge on Larry Bird, he wanted even more titles. And he was about to live the peak of the Showtime era. The peak of the Showtime era. Magic Johnson and the Lakers' dominance. Now tell me, have you ever felt like you were at the peak of your life, when everything seemed to be going right and you were simply unstoppable? Well, Magic Johnson was right there. After finally defeating Larry Bird and the Celtics in 1985, the Lakers were on top of the world. But Magic didn't just want to win a title. He wanted to build a legacy. And that's what he did. In the years that followed, the Showtime Lakers became a true dynasty. The team played with incredible speed. Magic's passing was pure art. Every game seemed like a basketball spectacle. And most importantly, they kept winning. In 1987, the Lakers and Celtics faced off again in the NBA Finals. But this time, Magic was at the peak of his career. And he proved it in Game 4 when he made a play that went down in history. The baby skyhook. With just a few seconds left on the clock, Magic received the ball, advanced against Boston's relentless defense and hit a perfect hook shot over three of the Celtics' best defenders. Lakers win the game. Lakers win the finals. Magic Johnson champion again. And more than that, he was voted NBA MVP for the third time. At this point, he wasn't just an incredible player. He was one of the greatest players of all time. And the Showtime Lakers? They became the most exciting team in NBA history. But like everything in life, even great empires come to an end. Magic didn't know it yet, but the biggest challenge of his life was about to arrive. And it wasn't on the court. The hardest moment. The diagnosis that stopped the world. Now tell me, have you ever had a moment in your life when everything seemed perfect and then suddenly, everything changed in an instant? Well, that's exactly what happened to Magic Johnson. The year was 1991. Magic was still on top of the world. He had led the Lakers to another NBA Finals the year before and continued to be one of the most dominant players in the league. Nothing seemed capable of stopping Magic Johnson. Until one day, shocking news changed everything. During a routine medical exam before the season started, Magic received a devastating diagnosis. He was HIV positive. At the time, being diagnosed with HIV was an absolute shock. Little was known about the disease and many people believed it was a death sentence. Magic was in shock. How could this be happening to him? The NBA was also in a panic. There was a lot of fear and misinformation about the disease, and many players and fans wondered, would he still be able to play? Could HIV be transmitted through sweat or physical contact on the court? The pressure was enormous. And then, on November 7, 1991, Magic Johnson called a press conference. The room was packed. Everyone knew he was going to make a big announcement, but no one was prepared for what he would say. With a firm voice but clearly emotional, Magic looked out at the world and said, "Because of the HIV virus that I have contracted, I must retire from basketball today." The world stopped. What did he mean? Magic Johnson, at the height of his career, was leaving the NBA? Many cried. Many could not believe what they were hearing. But Magic did not let himself be shaken. Even when faced with one of the most difficult moments of his life, he made sure to say one thing: "I'm not here to cry about it." Magic's resilience, turning diagnosis into a new purpose. Now tell me, have you ever gone through a moment that seemed like the end of everything, but deep down, it was just the beginning of a new journey? Well, that's exactly what happened to Magic Johnson. When he announced to the world that he was HIV positive and would be retiring from basketball, many believed that was the end of his story. But Magic was never one to bow his head in the face of challenges. He decided that he would not let HIV define his life. He would not be seen as a victim. He would not hide. He would face fear and misinformation with courage. And he did it the only way he knew how: by using his voice, his fame, and his influence to educate the world. Magic Johnson's unforgettable comeback at the All-Star Game 1992. Shortly after his announcement, Magic received an unexpected invitation. He was called up to play in the 1992 All-Star Game. Many doubted that he would be able to play again. Some players even questioned whether he should be there, fearing HIV and the uncertainties about the transmission of the disease. But Magic ignored the doubts. He went to the court. And what happened? He played as if he had never left, enchanting the crowd and being named MVP of the game. And then, in the last minute of the game, he made an incredible play, hit a three-pointer, and ended the game in magical fashion. The fans went wild. The opposing players came to hug him. Larry Bird, his biggest rival, was one of the first to congratulate him. Magic Johnson showed the world that he was still Magic, the dream team and the greatest team of all time. A few months later, another epic moment arrived: the 1992 Barcelona Olympics. Magic was invited to be part of the United States Dream Team, the most legendary basketball team in history, alongside Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, and other legends. Many thought he wouldn't accept. Others doubted whether he could compete at a high level. But Magic never shied away from a challenge. He wore the USA jersey and went to Barcelona. And the result? The Dream Team destroyed all its opponents and easily won the gold medal. For Magic, that gold was more than a title. It was proof that he could still live. It was proof that he was still a winner. He could have stopped there. But as you already know, Magic never settles for less. He still had a lot more to do, but now, off the court. Want to know how he became one of the most successful businessmen in the US? From player to tycoon. Magic Johnson, the successful businessman. Now tell me, what would you do after achieving everything on the court? For many players, the end of a career means losing the shine, living in the memories of the past. But Magic Johnson? He was not like the others. On the court, he was always a leader. Off it, he had even more ambition. He wanted to show the world that he could win not only in basketball but also in business. He wanted to open doors for others. He wanted to create opportunities for the African American community. And he wanted to continue to be a symbol of success, now in a different way. And thus, one of the largest business empires in the world of sports was born. Magic Johnson Enterprises. The first steps in the business world. Magic started by investing in something simple but powerful: movie theaters and cafes in the outskirts of the city. He realized that many Black communities did not have access to modern movie theaters or quality coffee shops. So he did something revolutionary. He opened several movie theaters and brought famous franchises to these places. The result? Absolute success. People went to the movies, drank in the cafes, and Magic proved that investing in the community was a great business for everyone. Successful partnerships. But Magic didn't stop there. He started making huge partnerships, closing deals with brands like Starbucks. He opened more than 100 stores of the chain in Black and Latino neighborhoods in the USA. Burger King. He closed a major deal to open franchises across the country. Los Angeles Lakers. He bought a small share of the team and became one of the owners of the team, where he made history. And the result? Today, Magic Johnson is a billionaire. He owns an empire that makes billions of dollars a year. He has become one of the most respected businessmen in the United States. And the most impressive thing? He did all this while remaining one of the biggest advocates for the fight against HIV. If before people saw Magic as a basketball player, now he was seen as an icon of entrepreneurship and representation. But did he stop there? Of course not. Magic still had one more incredible chapter to write. And this time he would return to where it all began. Want to know how he revolutionized the Los Angeles Lakers as president? Hold on tight because the story is coming to its grand finale. The return to the Lakers. Magic Johnson as a leader off the court. Now tell me, have you ever returned to a place where you made history but this time in a completely different role? Well, that's exactly what happened to Magic Johnson. After becoming one of the most successful businessmen in the US, Magic still felt that his story with basketball was not over. He wanted to give back everything that basketball had given him. And that's how, in 2017, he returned to the team where he built his legend. Magic Johnson became the president of operations of the Los Angeles Lakers. This time, he wouldn't be stepping onto the court to make incredible passes or hit game-winning shots. Now, he was the man responsible for rebuilding the Lakers and bringing them back to the top. The mission to bring a new idol to Los Angeles. Magic took over the job knowing that the Lakers were far from their glory days. The team was going through some tough times and needed a star to lead them back to success. And Magic had a clear mission: to bring the greatest player of the new generation to Los Angeles. Who was that player? LeBron James. Magic knew that LeBron was the piece that could change everything. And then in 2018, after many behind-the-scenes conversations, he got what he wanted. LeBron James signed with the Lakers. It was a huge moment for the franchise. It was the first step towards the team's rebirth. But Magic's journey as a manager wasn't as long as his playing career. The surprising exit. Despite having managed to bring LeBron to the Lakers, Magic felt that he wasn't happy in his role as an executive. He wanted more freedom. He didn't want to be tied to the rules of the job. He wanted to continue helping the Lakers but in his own way. And that's why, in 2019, Magic made another surprising decision. He resigned as president of the Lakers. The basketball world was shocked. But Magic explained it all with his famous smile on his face. "I'm Magic Johnson. I love the Lakers but I need to be myself." And as always, he walked out the front door to the applause and respect of all. The legacy of Magic Johnson. And so, Magic Johnson closed another chapter of his life. He entered the NBA as a smiling kid who played basketball with joy. He won titles, faced adversity, and became an icon. He showed the world that an HIV diagnosis was not a death sentence. He built a business empire and opened doors for future generations. And above all, he always kept his essence. Today, Magic remains one of the most influential faces in basketball and business. He still owns several billion-dollar companies. He is still one of basketball's greatest ambassadors. And most importantly, he continues to inspire millions of people around the world. And you know what's most impressive? If you ask him what his greatest achievement was, he won't say it was the titles or the money. He'll say it was overcoming life's challenges without ever losing his love for the game and for people. That's Magic Johnson. A legend that goes far beyond basketball. And now tell me, if you could leave a legacy like Magic did, what would it be? Conclusion. The eternal legacy of Magic Johnson. Now tell me, after everything you've heard, Magic Johnson isn't just a player, right? He's much more than that. He's a symbol of overcoming joy and success. He was one of the greatest players in NBA history. He changed the way basketball is played. He faced one of the most difficult moments in his life with courage and inspired millions of people. He became one of the most successful businessmen in the United States. And to this day, he remains a living legend. If there's one thing Magic teaches us, it's this. Talent can take you far, but it's hard work and passion for what you do that make you unforgettable. So tell me, what part of Magic's story inspired you the most? Leave your comment below because I want to hear your opinion. And if you like this story and want to see more about other legends of the sport, subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and leave a like. Come with us because there are many incredible stories coming. See you next time.